Hi, this is Lulu. I'm a compulsive overeater. And today we're going to talk about the fourth step writing. We're going to talk about the self-seeking part of the writing. So now at this point, you have a Google Doc, you have your resentment list, then you have that resentment list copied and a page break between each one. And each one starts with, God, I offer this to you. And then you write, I resent, that would be the first name on your list. Causes, those are the things that the reasons that you will resent them. Then affects my, we have that, you can go back to the other recording on the affects my and see how this person has affected you. And then the next part we're going to talk about is the self-seeking part. So what is self-seeking? Like how is self-seeking different than selfish? Selfish is like, I want what I want it now. Who cares about you? This is what I want. Do this, stop doing that, start doing that, whatever. Self-seeking is when I am seeking self. I am seeking to make myself feel better, especially when this person is doing this stuff to me and making me feel this way, and they've said this and they've done that and they should stop doing this or whatever they're doing. I'm kind of thinking right now we need to have some kind of an example going on, don't we, Shalece? Yeah. We should probably work on some kind of an example to keep working off of.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah. We're not a polished act here, folks. We're just going along. However it works out is just fine. It's perfect. So we'll just work on that. We'll work on coming up with an example. So anyway, the things that I do that make me feel better when I am experiencing this with you. So again, I have a little cheat sheet because chances are it's one of these things. And over the years that I've been working with people, if anybody ever comes up with something new and I'm like, oh, that one might belong on the list. So I kind of have this little list with like maybe a dozen things on it that are very typical things that people do, and even mostly addicts do to, it just goes with our nature, the things we need to do to make ourselves feel better when this person is doing or not doing these things. So I'm going to share my screen and we'll get a copy of this up on what do you call it? On a PDF. So these are like pretty much covers it all. So I'm experiencing this with you. You just like, you don't clean up after yourself. You're not nice to me. You lie, you whatever you're doing to me. And I got a whole list of all this stuff that you've done, and it affects my self-esteem. It affects my pride and whatever I have on my list for that particular thing. So what am I going to do to make myself feel better? First of all, I'm probably going to judge you. I'm going to judge you like big time judgy. Okay. I'm going to judge myself because that person might be making me feel less than, and I'm going to start judging myself to make them right so that I'll feel better, just because I just need some kind of resolution of some sort, right? Label, you're a jerk, you're no good, you're a liar, you just think of any name, you just got a label for someone. Doesn't that feel good? It almost feels like you've just surmised this whole problem into this little tidy package. Yep, you're a friggin' liar. You're a drunk. You're a whatever you are. I'm going to start labeling people. That feels good. And then, but nothing feels better than blaming, because when you're going through something with your experience with somebody, and you can find somebody else to blame, especially other than yourself, that's a good one too. Blame. Okay. Gossip, that's a good one. That's a big one. The minute that I'm on the phone with my sister, I don't have any sisters, but if I'm on the phone with my sister and she's yakking about this sister or about anybody, and I'm calling this sister to, and then you're talking about that other one, and then you just kind of get wrapped in this thing. I heard the best description of gossip. It was, I can't find it where I wrote it, but let me see if I don't mangle it. It's when I use somebody else's story as currency to make me look good. Is that what it is, Shalece? I remember we had that quote, something like that. I use your story as currency. If I've got a nice big piece of juicy gossip from work and I get to tell this one and this one, it's like, did you hear? Did you hear? It's kind of like, oh, I have the scoop. I got people that talk to me. It's like a whole ego thing, really. And basically, I'm telling you so that you will like me, you will be my friend, whatever I'm using. But basically, if you're gossiping about people, if you're talking to anybody about anybody that has no valid reason that's of helpfulness, it's gossip. And people pleasing, just running around in circles trying to please people. It seems like that's not self-serving. Almost seems like, look at they're doing everything for this one. They do that for that one, and they do that for that one. They're doing it all for themselves, because I need to please you so that I feel okay. I need to please you so that you're my friend. I need to say yes to you when I really want to say no, because I can't have you think that I'm not generous. Whatever it is, it's people pleasing, it's self-centeredness, it's self-seeking behavior. It's a behavior that you do to make yourself feel better. Sometimes, like it says in the big book, where it says, sometimes we appear quite virtuous, and over in step 3, where it says, sometimes we, in trying to make these arrangements, our actor sometimes is quite virtuous. He may be kind, considerate, patient, generous, even modest and self-sacrificing. On the other hand, he may be mean, egotistical, selfish, and dishonest. But anyway, so those are just different ways that we manage our with our self-seeking behavior. So sometimes, if you always look at the motive behind your kindness and your consideration and your patience and your generosity, you look behind that, and then you decide if it's a self-seeking behavior. Overdo, it's kind of similar to people please, but I remember I had a sponsee once and it seemed very different at the time. I don't know that if I can put my finger on it, but it was like just overdoing, like maybe the step above, a step deeper than people pleasing is when you just kind of, now you're giving people like more than they want and need, just because it just, I don't know if you're ever with somebody like that, that's just kind of like, all right, enough, they're not serving me, they're serving themselves. If I'm trying to impress you, I'm just trying to feel better about myself. I'm just trying to feel better about myself. I am self-seeking. I'm seeking myself to feel better. Rescue, pat myself on the back. I rescued you. I saved you. You were going to be homeless. I took you in. My drug addict nephew comes over. Yep, I'll take care of you. You're going to get, you're always trying to rescue everybody. And like, you can't get somebody clean. You can't get somebody help, have somebody put the food down, drugs down. I mean, it's just like, that's their journey between them and God when their bottom hits. But sometimes we can really get into the rescuing thing. Rescuing family members from what you consider to be something that they need rescuing from. Being a good girl, just not being your authentic self, but trying to be on this like good behavior that is self-serving. It's not you're on good behavior because you're like connected with God and you're like, I want to be like God. I want to be kind and beautiful and compassionate and empathetic, just like God. No, you're being a good girl, so you get what you want, and silent scorn. So that would be like that festering rage. Silently scorning is when you have no idea that I can't stand you. But let me just tell you, I'm festering. And every time I think about it, I'm festering and I'm festering. And the more I think about it, the more right I am. And the more right I am, the better I feel. So I'm seeking myself. I'm going to just keep thinking about this until I can think of every little angle that I am right. I am right. And then I feel better about myself, especially when I pat myself on the back that I didn't yell at them, because at least I didn't yell. But then you're sitting in that festering rage, which somebody else is probably going to get the brunt of. Probably not that person, but somebody else will get it. It's going to come out somewhere, come out sideways somewhere, you know. Withdrawing. Now, these next three are different but the same. Withdraw. I withdraw from you. I hide from you. Like that's more of like an embarrassment thing. And avoid. There is a difference in all of those, and you'll see it when you write it. When you list it, you'll see the difference between when I'm withdrawing from you, or I'm avoiding you, or I'm hiding from you. They all seem the same, but when you're going to pick one of those for your self-seeking list from each person, you'll identify it and be clear on the difference. Eat and drink. Well, that's what I did most of my life to make myself feel better. Sometimes I didn't have to do anything else. Just sit there and just pig out, you know, and it served me. It served me just as well as all the other things did. I was seeking to make myself feel better. And like Harlan always says, it works for like 9 seconds and then it's over. And a lot of this other stuff only works for 9 seconds too. Or maybe 18, I don't know. Fantasize. If I'm going to fantasize about some kind of outcome that I'm going to fantasize that's going to actually happen, and then everything is going to be good, and so I can get away out of reality into a fantasy, and then I just feel better in the fantasy. I just feel better, you know. Pity party. That's a big one. That's a big one that comes up a lot for addicts. So, you know, when I just, especially if I invite people to the party, because then I got people right there with me that are confirming everything that I'm complaining about, everything that all my causes of this particular person. I have somebody there to listen and probably agree or whatever. And but the minute I get into poor me, you know, like they say in AA, pour me a drink, you know, that's a big AA slogan thing. And so cry. Not that there's anything wrong with crying, but I think it's good to know that if you're a crier, what that, you know, there's some people that cry is on every single one, like just everybody makes them cry. And it's just kind of good to see that if that's what makes you feel better, then that's what you're doing. It's just good to know. And defend yourself. That's a big one too. You know, I mean, you know, somebody's doing something that I don't like and I don't agree with, and I think it needs to start happening or it needs to stop happening, whatever it is. And especially if I'm being attacked by somebody, if I have it on my list, she tells me I'm stupid, she tells me I won't amount to anything, I'm going to defend. Maybe I'm defending myself. I don't know. Maybe I just sit there and cry. Can you see how like everybody reacts to things differently? And what's really important here is we want to see patterns in you and how you respond to life, and because that's what all these resentments are. It's all just life happening. We want to see, how do I respond? Somebody might hear that and they might cry. Somebody might hear that and they go eat a cake. Somebody might hear that and they silently scorn. They don't want to say anything. Somebody might yell and go, "What are you doing?" So, you know, everybody handles themselves differently. And I could, as a sponsor, I could never guess how you respond and react to life. How could I even know that? Like, I hardly know you, and you hardly know you, because I hardly knew me until I had all this stuff written. Good information to have at the end of your 4-step writing. You're like, oh, look at these patterns. If somebody said, do you gossip a lot, I'd be like, oh no, I don't gossip a lot. But if that showed up like on every other one of my resentment writing, right? I'd be like, well, geez, I guess I do, you know. Um, lecture, lecturing people, and that makes you feel good. Yep. Let me just tell you, you sit right down here. I'm going to teach you something. I'm going to teach you about right from wrong. And you sit right here and I'm going to lecture you. That is, nobody really signs up for that. Um, and that would be self-seeking. I'm going to make myself feel better because I'm going to be the lecturer and I'm going to hear everything about me and that everything I agree with. That's what I'm going to hear right now as I lecture. I'm going to hear everything that I agree with. Attack verbally, attack physically. That would be for the yellow screamer. Some people are yellow screamers. Some people are silent. Some people just curl up in a ball and hide, when they're feeling like it. And some people are just like, rah, and some people are hitting people. So if you're hitting people or you're verbally attacking people, it's probably be a good thing to know about yourself if you don't know it. Demanding things that can almost make you feel like you have a sense of power. And as you're making those demands, you're going to pick up your socks every day. It's the least you can do, and then blah, blah, blah. It's just like, it just feels like, you got this, this gavel that like you're going to make the rules and somebody's actually listening, especially somebody that never listens to you anyway, but you keep saying it. We've all been there. Rebel to rebel. That's probably more so for younger people. I think, my rebel days are over, but I can see that the difference in that kind of a reaction when you're just rebelling against somebody, like you don't even like, maybe what you're picking to do, it doesn't even make any sense, but it's rebellious. It's gonna push your buttons. So it might feel rebellious, but you'll know it when you're going through and picking which ones belong on your self-seeking list. On each person, you're gonna just keep reading all the harms done to you. You're just gonna keep scanning your eye up and down them, and you're just like, where was I? Did I ever avoid? What did I ever demand? Did I ever yell at this person? Did I have a pity? Did I try to rescue this person? Was I blaming this person? Or was I blaming somebody else for this person? So you just kind of keep your eyes scanning up and down on the causes, and then you'll know which ones belong. Being too honest. Yeah, we can pat ourselves in the back for being too honest, and sometimes being too honest is hurtful to people, but geez, it can feel good because I was honest. It's like, you give yourself a pat in the back. I'm just like an honest friend. I'm a real honest friend. And in the meantime, you've just like, you've really hurt somebody. Nagging, that would be just nag, complain, same thing, wah, 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 that whole thing. Unfair expectations. You can see how if I have expectations of somebody, how that's going to make me feel better because I'm presenting my expectations. But it's just so funny to expect anything from somebody else is really unfair. So all expectations from somebody else are unfair. So just unfair expectations. When I put those out there, those expectations out there, I just get a little hit, makes me feel good. Withholding information, thoughts, or feelings. That's a little bit different than withdrawing and hiding, embarrass and avoid, but they're all the same, but they're all very typical, and you'll feel which one belongs when I'm not telling you how I feel. I'm not telling you what I think. I have information I'm holding on to that would be critical for me to tell you whatever I'm doing, whether I'm just doing like a power play or I'm just shutting down because I feel better if I just shut down. Don't want to deal with it, So you might find that. Then there's revenge. That's when you have revengeful thoughts, when you start thinking about, you either get revenge or you have the revengeful thoughts. That is self-seeking in all its glory, because you did this to me, I'm going to do it to you, and it's going to feel good. That would be revenge. So that's what I have on the self-seeking list. Chances are, in all my years of doing this work, these are things that have come up with people. And when I didn't feel that they were really, really specifically unique to them, and if it was, I wouldn't put it on this list. This is just and you can have self-seeking behaviors that are not on this list, but it's probably going to be something that's in a form of one of these words anyway. So you might as well just use this list. And then just, for each person, you might have 2 or 3. It might just say, I judged others, I blamed, and I withdrew. That might be one, Another one, you might have 10 of these. Some of them you'll just feel just one, because it might be like, a teacher at school. So you would never be making demands and attacking physically and verbally, but you wouldn't even be lecturing them. You might defend yourself to somebody like that, or you might try to be a good girl or a good boy. Brett, that should say good girl or boy. It just says girl because I work with girls most. No, I don't even do that anymore. I work with men too. Anyway, so even if I'm labeling this teacher in my mind, if I got all kinds of labels in my mind, those count. It's not just the ones that I spoke out loud, but I got the labels in my mind. I need to get rid of that label maker, and so this is not about releasing these. This is about identifying these things. And that's what I have on the self-seeking part. Shalece, do you have anything to add to this?
Yeah, I just want to say that was fantastic. So good. And just to add to my thoughts about my experience with this part of the writing was so interesting, because again, the resentment was as far as I got before I came into the program. Like, I knew I was upset and angry with people, and they had done all of these things to me. And this part of the writing started to show me something different, show me my reaction to people. And I'll give you an example. Like, it's kind of like I've been driving my car for the last 4 weeks, and the steering wheel's been wobbling like this. And so I'm like, oh, that's annoying. That's just annoying. And I'm just driving it for 4 weeks. And I'm just like, finally, I'm just like, something's wrong. I don't know what it is, and it would be like resentments. I know something's wrong, keep driving it, and let's just turn up the radio because it's annoying and I don't want to see it. But this is kind of like taking the car to the shop, having it just opened up and looked at to see what's underneath that annoying irritation, resentment. And so this is the part where we go into the diagnostics of this sister right here. What's happening inside of me, how I'm reacting to other people, how I'm reacting to situations. I had no idea. And these things are all automatic. They're automatic. The situation happens and I do this. I'm not even aware of that until I come into this diagnostic process through the step 4 writing. So it's just beautiful to, open up and just see, oh, okay, I might actually have a part in this, and so it's just beautiful part of it to start to see how I react to life, and very, very, very good information.